I was tagged in this Reddit thread, and I'm glad that I was busy yesterday because I didn't have the opportunity to create this video. And y'all need to see this, and I'm not going to editorialize it too much, but I want you guys to tell me what you are seeing when you hear this dad's testimony about becoming a parent and fulfilling the parenting role. So just listen and tell me what you think. This dad says, I'm in a rage most days. I, a 51 male, got married to my 39-year-old wife at the age of 44. So he got married at 44. He had his first child, a 4-year-old girl, at 46. He had a child at 46 and the next baby, a baby boy, at the age of 50. That's already starting out. I already understand why he's mad. All right, let me stop laughing. I had some serious doubts on whether I could function as a husband and a father when I have come to realize that my worst fears have become reality. I am effing miserable. I hate this stuff. All I do is work, whether it be my high paying, high stress job, and every goddamn minute after. I can't go anywhere anymore, relax, watch TV, have quiet, or sit down for more than 5 minutes. My wife is a nurse and works nights. Her bright idea. So I literally lose 3 days for every 12-hour shifts. She has to sleep the day of and the day before. And I have to deal with the kids, and it's an absolute grind. There's not a second where someone doesn't need to be tended to in some way, shape, or form. My daughter doesn't sleep. She can be up from 7 a.m. to 10, I guess 10 a.m. I don't know if that's 10 a.m. or 10 p.m. With zero nap. My son eats all day long and needs food every damn 1.5 to 2 hours, or he's going ape poop, etc. My wife just can't seem to wrap her mind around why I'm not walking around the house like a ray of sunshine. Who wants to bust their ass all day at work only to clock right back in soon as it's over and not have 5 effing minutes to themselves until 9 or 10 at night? Kind of sounds like the second shift that moms do, but like I said, I'm not going to try to editorialize too much. It sucks. I hate the weekends, especially when she's working, because I'm annoyed the whole damn time because it's never time to recharge. We just sold our house. It will be 2 months before our new one is finished. We have to be out of the house in 10 days and haven't packed because you can't get stuff done when the kids are around, and we have no real help whenever they do leave, and it's never for 24 whole hours. I don't want to be obligated to do anything anywhere because it just feels like another burden. My wife and I are at each other's throats, and I have been on the brink of separation twice since my son was born. I actually feel I'd be happier if we divorced because I would have a break and some peace between visitations. It sounds like he's a married single mom. I feel like the very life is being drained from me, and I have seriously contemplated unaliving myself at times. I can't find joy anymore, and I'm in a rage 80% of the time. I can't do any type of self-care because everything is a logistical nightmare. I planned an evening out with the guys, and the effing trouble and hoops I have to jump through to pull it off isn't even worth it. Here's the situation. Wife had to work last night, Friday. By the time I got everyone fed, bathed, and in the bed, it's 10 p.m. I needed to pack up the kitchen, but I was dead ass tired after working all day and then dealing with the kids all evening. I got woken up by the 1-year-old at 7 a.m., soon followed by the toddler. Spent the whole morning up and down, tending to them. Wife comes home and goes to sleep. The kids are on my effing nerves since they got up and I can't get anything done. The plan was supposed to be for them to be taken off our hands for 4 hours so I could pack. Didn't happen. My sister-in-law said she'd keep them for the night, but we can't drop them off until 8 p.m. and we need to pick them up by 1. I went to get my hair cut and wash the car before I head out with a few friends tomorrow at 4, but that's highly unlikely. Oh, and add to that my wife's effing brilliant idea to decide to host a virtual Christmas decorating class from 1 to 4 tomorrow, as if we don't have enough stuff to do. I'm booked tonight and a good bit of tomorrow, and what was once something I was looking forward to has now become a burden that I'm no longer interested in. So as I sit here looking at this pume and thinking to myself, is this all there is? I'm having a really hard time finding a reason to go on. Thanks for allowing me a safe space to rant, because I can't do it anywhere else. So this is the reason why I'm glad that I had the opportunity to give this a day before I make this into a video. What I really, really think is that if men had the opportunity to actually feel what parenthood was like from the beginning, all of it, we would have a lot less children being born, because being a parent is hard work all the time. Everything that he said is what women say consistently. This he he has the life of a married single mom, period. And right now he's at his wits end because of his decisions to have babies in middle age. Having kids in your late 40s and early 50s is hard, but the delusion that many of these people feel that they can have kids as long as they want to, and that they should have kids as long as they want to, will bite them in the butt if they actually have to take care and parent those children. So, women, we understand that this is hard work. So, I'm sure that this is a woman. This person says 100% get a nanny. If you have a high paying job and your wife works, is worth your sanity. I'm sorry you're going through this. It sounds like hell. Yes, with more than one kid, you need some external help, even more if it's mostly one of the parents is in charge. If there's no family to help, then a nanny or similar, I understand, is tiring. This is the reason why more men need to feel what it's like to parent. But there's also a reason that women need to be in charge of governmental policies, because women have the empathy and sympathy to actually care, and we understand the recommendations that's needed. So this person who tagged me right here is named Tenacious Villain. She says, I'm pretty sure there are a lot of career moms reading this feeling seen and heard, because you literally describe their lives. Except their husband doesn't work nights. He just comes home and plays video games, expecting to be catered to by the dead, tired wife like the rest of the kids. Man, I do feel sorry for you. The stuff is hard, and I hope you don't make that decision. I agree with this. I'm glad that this person tagged me in it, because this just goes to show what it will take to make things shift in this country and globally, is men having to take care of their children, and then women knowing organically what it's like to be a parent, because we are typically the default parent that gets no rest and are dead tired. So y'all go ahead and jump in the comments and let me know what you think. I was sent this post, and I think that it's kind of interesting. So this was posted in the 2X chromosome subreddit. She says, waitressing has really opened my eyes about marriage. She says, I, a 22-year-old woman, have been waitressing for a minute. I've seen a lot and heard a lot. This job has taught me that marrying the right person is extremely important. A few weeks ago, I was completely berated by a gentleman, why she even call him a gentleman, by this dude that came in with his young daughter and his wife. We had a terrible wait time, and this dude, okay, cool, she called him a dude, literally started cursing at me in the vicinity of children. I couldn't even explain what was going on and how I was willing to help him. I got so flustered that I had to walk away. He then flagged down my manager and told him I gave him an attitude for a free meal. Imagine being married to a man who curses out complete strangers. I don't think I'll ever forget the look on his wife and daughter's face. I could see they were both embarrassed and frightened. I also noticed men rarely order for their children, nor are they as keen on sharing allergies. They sometimes make inappropriate comments in the presence of their wives. Men often are disengaged. I've also noticed that sometimes their significant other has to encourage them to tip. On the other hand, I've had awesome male guests. They were kind, respectful, and patient. From our brief interactions, I could tell they were awesome husbands. An example was a dad who came in dressed up with his family and was so pleasant. You can tell him and his wife were the best of friends. That's all I pray for. The wild thing is, a lot of times the baseline is so like in hell that a man that's just like has some simple manners could be like, oh my God, he is amazing. Because when you have somebody to juxtapose it with, somebody that is cursing you out simply because it's busy, and then you have a couple that comes in and the man has manners and says thank you and stuff. It's like, oh my God, he is amazing. That's couples goal. Hashtag couples goal. But I can say that being a server really does give you the opportunity to see life real quick and how people act when they're stressed or when other people are busy. They're too busy for you when you're short staffed. You can definitely see how people behave. And you certainly can see family dynamics when you are a server. Let's check out some of these comments. Developing solid BS detection and mitigation skills is a bit of a sad exercise, but should serve you well for the rest of your life. That is very, very true. I was a server. I've worked in customer service. That's why I am the way I am right now. The OP says, at least I got to walk away and refuse him service. His poor family has to go home with him. I feel for the spouses of narcs. Pantless Modesty says, and if that's how that man acted in public to a stranger, imagine what he would do at home in private. Super Definition said, when I worked in fast food, I said to a man raging over a 50 cents upcharge, sir, if you behave this way to me, a teenager at work, I would hate to know how you treat your wife or daughter when the front door of your house shuts. Ooh, that burnt. Your girl's a mess says, I was in line at the DMV behind a man who wouldn't stop berating his wife for getting flustered while trying to do the real ID stuff. I can't tell you how much anxiety it gave me just being in their presence. It's no wonder women get autoimmune diseases married to these men. And this woman said to the point about getting autoimmune diseases, and this is an important topic. Women need to know and understand that stress and anxiety is not just harmful to your mental health, it can impact your physical health. This person, Tum Yo O Pop, says, your last sentence brought me to a screeching halt and made me evaluate the conditions of several women in my circle. Wow. I want y'all to stop and think about the women you know, the people that talk to you and have autoimmune diseases. What does their home life look like? What did their childhood look like? Many of these things that are stressful, chaotic, abusive can cause autoimmune diseases. Chicago Detroit says, one of my best friends developed a ton of health problems. Her doctor told her that it was 100% caused by stress at home. Your girl's a mess says, after my divorce, literally every health problem that I had vanished. Please know and understand how these are linked, how they go together. A bat named Twitch says, I went into congestive heart failure symptoms from living with my awful ex husband, awful and abusive ex husband. What says, no. Effing literally me too. It's no wonder why my mom had cancer. Name of the plum says, me almost dying from ulcerative colitis from my abusive father. Being sick ruined my financial life and career and self esteem around those issues in a way that is never recoverable. I had to have life saving emergency surgery. She says, oh, to have felt safe as a child. Things that happen in your childhood that can literally impact your health as an adult. So please keep that in mind. Why some people talk about, I had to stick and stay for the children. Sometimes children do need you to move away for their health as adults. Okay, so PDX Cranberry says, but you said your manager gave him a free meal. That's the problem. These a-holes continually get rewarded for their behavior. And Nahama says, I believe she meant that the man tried to get the manager to give him a free meal by flagging him down and complaining about her attitude. Seems he was unsuccessful. But now the OP says he was actually successful. My manager comped his entire meal. That's the sad reality of the restaurant industry. And Maha just says, F. All right, I'm gonna end with this screenshot. Fluffy Donut said, when I was 20 to 21, I worked in a sports store. So a lot of families went there on weekends. So many dads tried flirting with me. Some were even with their wives and kids. Um, I only thought how many of these I thought kind and lovely family men in my life are like that they feel absolutely no shame to flirt with the very young girls who are 10 years older than their kid. I mean, what? How can you be 40, 50 and flirt with college students? Hello, I'm almost 30 now and can't even imagine flirting with a guy who's 25, let alone 20. 20 years old is a baby. I gag even thinking about flirting with a 20-year-old boy. End of rant. And then the OP says, the stories I've heard from my friends who work at restaurants, Hooters, Twin Peaks, Bombshells, etc., left me traumatized. I've also had a few other friends who've worked in clubs. If seeing the way some of these older men act doesn't wake you up, nothing will. And I'll end it with that. I just thought that was an interesting conversation to have. Here's another post from 2X Chromosomes. She says, JD Vance debates like my ex, and I finally understand why I always felt insane around him. Did anyone else feel this way while watching the debate last night? It made my whole last relationship click for me. Vance has this tendency of subtly saying, I think we both agree that blank, right? Or saying, let's agree, just for the sake of argument, that blank. Both cases are ways that Vance looks reasonable and nice, but is actually subtly taking control of the conversation. It puts Waltz in a position of either having to look like the bad guy and disagree on something allegedly reasonable, or it forces Waltz to respond only in terms that Vance sets for the discussion. Don't get me wrong, I think Waltz did a good job last night, but watching him deal with the way Vance debates finally helped me understand why I always felt insane when I was talking to my ex. Somehow the conversation always ended up about what he wanted to talk about, and or I always ended up in a position of being unreasonable because I was questioning our common ground. It was like I was trying to have a genuine conversation, but I always ended up questioning the reality in which our conversation was happening. Or I always somehow wound up being the bad guy in the conversation. Did anyone else feel similar? Is there any name for what Vance is doing? How do you deal with it in real life? Somebody says it's like the team thing, like acting like we're all on the same team, same sidesing or both sidesing. Um, it's definitely a phenomenon. It's a control tactic. It is definitely a tactic to control the conversation. And I certainly do not like it when people assume that we're on the same side of a topic, especially when the topic is, do you prefer black? Do you prefer white? Do you prefer vanilla? Do you prefer chocolate? It's like, let's assume that we both enjoy vanilla the most. No, no, no. We can't assume that. You have to like let me decide what I like, and then we can have a discussion. If we're going to split something, you have to do that kind of thing. Not let's just assume that we both like vanilla the most. No, it's like, and then it makes you really think, oh yeah, let's think about it that way. No, it's a tactic, and someone really smart needs to study this. Frosted Moth says, as the other Redditor mentioned, gaslighter. Vance is a master manipulator. Vance and Trump seem to show characteristics of having narcissistic personality disorder. Please know and understand that people throw these terms out there and that this is Reddit and that folks really have not diagnosed these people, or they could have diagnosed Trump. But anyways, I'm just throwing that out. As far as how to deal with these people in real life, you need to set clear boundaries around them and keep yourself emotionally safe from their tactics. I wouldn't want someone with NPD running our country. Harbinger says, I've been making comparisons between Vance and Ted Cruz lately. Cruz is also great at being manipulative and will just make things up on the fly. Remember all the quotes from other senators about how universally disliked Cruz is. If you unalived Ted Cruz on the floor of the Senate and the trial was held in the Senate, no one would convict you. Lindsey Graham. I probably like Ted Cruz more than most of my colleagues like Ted Cruz, and I hate Ted Cruz, Al Franken. And the thing that is similar between Ted Cruz and JD Vance is that they both couldn't stand Donald Trump. They both couldn't stand him, but then they both eventually kissed the ring. Frosted Mouth says, LOL, I'm trying to come up with a clever pun for these two, but all I can think of is get in the Vance and take a cruise. But don't. And Aqua Veritas says, a narcissist is the only thing another narcissist will respect. They gravitate towards each other. Murder of Crows says, yes, I felt the same way. Vance was a creepy, smooth talker, but you had to listen to what he was actually saying. The number of times he referred to Trump as having common sense just floored me. He was trying to gaslight us, and I feel like only people who already love Trump would have believed that nonsense. P. Larry Chin says, when he said Trump was totally fine around the 2020 election because he peacefully handed over power on January 20th, I was floored. It was such a blatant gaslighting, disgusting conduct. Murder of Crow says, in outright lies. I do wish the moderators would have pressed him on some of the blatant misogynistic comments about women that he's made. Also, he kept acting like he was running for president. So infuriating. And the wild thing about JD Vance in this debate yesterday was that he kept on putting everything on VP Kamala Harris. And this is an Ivy League educated man. He knows what, I know he knows. I know he knows what the office of the VP can do and can't do. I know he knows. And so it is wild to me that he kept acting like the VP has so much power. These men were up here doing this debate as if it really, really mattered in the grand scheme of things, because neither one of them will be able to enact any policy. They will only be able to do what is delegated to them because they really don't have that much as far as power goes. They have the power to break a tie in the Senate, and they have to count the votes and oversee like what Pence was doing. But the wild thing is these people are really acting like Kamala Harris has so much power. But what other VP policies do you remember? What other VPs do you remember enacting things? Please keep that in mind. Anyways, join the conversation. If you know this manipulation tactic or this debate tactic, please weigh in and let me know what you think about JD Vance and his eyeliner last night.
Come on, players, stop hating. Stop hating. Start participating. Start participating, star. Come on, twinkle, twinkle, baby. Twinkle, twinkle.